I won $333 million in the lottery. And before I told a single soul, I tested my family. After 40 years of breaking my back for people who treated me like an old bill they were tired of paying, I wanted to know the truth. Not the version they performed at Christmas, not the version they posted online. The real one. So I called my son, Daniel, and told him I needed $200 for heart medication. He blocked my number. I called my daughter, Caroline. She laughed and told me maybe I should stop buying coffee if I wanted to stay alive. Then I called my grandson, Ethan. A broke college kid with a dying car and barely $500 in his checking account. He sent me every dollar. What I did next changed everything. My name is Walter Briggs. I'm 68 years old, and until 3 weeks before that phone call, the largest amount of money I'd ever held at one time was the severance check I got when the rail yard downsized half its maintenance crew. I bought the ticket at a Sheetz off Route 22 at 10:51 p.m. on a Thursday night. I hadn't gone in there to change my life. I went in for a half-gallon of milk, a pack of antacids, and one of those stale cinnamon rolls they keep under the plastic dome by the register. The cashier asked if I wanted anything else. I said, "Give me one Powerball ticket." That was it. No dream, no feeling, no lightning bolt. I shoved the ticket into the glove compartment of my old Ford Ranger and forgot about it for 4 days. When I finally checked the numbers, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I checked once on my phone, once on the state lottery website, and once by reading the numbers out loud like a man trying to prove he wasn't losing his mind. All 6 matched. $333 million. Lump sum after taxes came to just over $197 million. I didn't call my son. I didn't call my daughter. I didn't even tell my neighbor, who knew every loose shingle on my roof. I called Martin Keller, the attorney who had handled my wife's estate. "Martin," I said, "I need to see you today, and I need you to clear your afternoon." I had been a father since I was 26 years old. Daniel came first, red-faced and screaming in a hospital room that smelled like bleach and vending machine coffee. Caroline came 3 years later, smaller, quieter, with her mother's eyes and my stubborn chin. Back then, I thought being a father meant one thing: you carried the weight so your children didn't have to. So, I carried it. I worked 39 years in rail maintenance outside Pittsburgh. Started as a mechanic crawling under frozen freight cars in January with a flashlight between my teeth. Ended as a floor supervisor with 2 bad knees, 1 torn shoulder, and hands that never stopped aching when it rained. 60-hour weeks were normal. Night shifts were normal. Missing sleep was normal. Complaining was not. My wife, Eleanor, used to say, "Walter, you're going to wear yourself down to the bone." I'd tell her, "Then at least the kids will have something to stand on." And they did. Daniel got business school paid for. Caroline got help with her first apartment, her wedding, her first down payment. I never kept a ledger. I never wanted to be that kind of father. If my kids needed help and I had something to give, I gave it. Then Eleanor died. Pancreatic cancer. Fast. Ugly. Merciless. 5 months from the first stomach pain to the funeral home, folding the flag from her brother's old Navy service, because she had asked for something patriotic near the casket. I remember standing there in my black suit, listening to people tell me she was in a better place, and thinking there was no better place than my kitchen table on a Sunday morning, with her drinking coffee across from me. After that, Daniel and Caroline changed. Not all at once. That would have been easier to hate. It happened slowly. Shorter phone calls, missed birthdays, holidays canceled at the last minute, texts that started with, "Sorry, Dad. Things are crazy right now." But when they needed money, suddenly they had time. Daniel called first. Payroll emergency. His insurance firm was waiting on a big client payment. He needed $22,000 for 2 weeks. Tops, I gave it. Then came the credit cards. $38,000, he said his wife couldn't know. Caroline needed $17,500 to catch up on her mortgage. $4,200 for SUV repairs. $9,000 for her daughter's private school tuition. And $6,300 for property taxes. Every time. I helped. I sold bonds. I dipped into retirement. I cashed out part of Eleanor's life insurance. Because that's what fathers do. At least, that's what I thought fathers did. When I saw those lottery numbers, I didn't celebrate. I didn't open a bottle. I didn't dance around my living room. I didn't call Daniel or Caroline and say, "Guess what? Your old man is rich." I sat at my kitchen table until almost sunrise, staring at Eleanor's empty chair and thinking about every phone call I had answered, every check I had written, every excuse I had made for people who only seemed to remember I existed when their own lives caught fire. By noon, I was in Martin Keller's office. He created an irrevocable trust. Then, another layer beneath it. Then, accounts that would keep my name out of public paperwork as much as the law allowed. He contacted a fiduciary advisor named Elaine Porter, a woman with silver hair, sharp glasses, and the kind of calm voice people use when they're used to handling other people's panic. When I told her my children didn't know, she studied me for a second. "Sudden money doesn't change families," she said. "It just reveals what was already there." That sentence sat in my chest like a stone. So I decided to find out what was already there. Before anyone knew I had everything, I needed to know who would help me when they thought I had nothing. I called Daniel first. It was 3:28 p.m. on a Tuesday. The kind of gray afternoon where the whole house felt too quiet. I sat in my recliner with my phone in one hand and a bank statement showing more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes sitting on the coffee table in front of me. He answered on the 5th ring. "Dad, I'm walking into a meeting. What is it? Not hello, not how are you. Just, what is it?" "Daniel," I said, keeping my voice steady, "I need to ask you for help." He sighed. I heard it. That small sound people make when they've already decided you're a problem. "What kind of help? I'm short this month. My heart medication runs out tomorrow, and I don't get my Social Security deposit until the 15th. I need about $200. There was silence. Then he said, "Dad, I can't keep enabling this." I looked down at the lottery paperwork in front of me. Enabling what? This pattern. The poor planning, the emergencies. You're on a fixed income. You have to budget like an adult. "Daniel, this is medication." "Then, call the company. They have programs. Or go to the ER if it's that serious. I'm asking my son for $200, and I'm telling you I can't. We're stretched thin. Mortgage, school, the club dues, the boat payment," I repeated. The same boat I had helped him keep by paying off his credit cards 2 years earlier. He lowered his voice. "Caroline and I have talked about this. Maybe it's time you considered assisted living. Somewhere people can manage these things for you. Manage these things." He meant me. Then he said, "I'm going to block your number for a while. Not forever. Just until you figure things out." Tough love. "Dad," the line went dead. My own son had just decided my life was worth less than his boat payment. After Daniel hung up, I sat there for a full minute, listening to the quiet in my own house. Then I called Caroline. She picked up on the second ring, but her voice already sounded irritated. "Dad, I'm between showings. Make it quick." I closed my eyes. "Caroline, I need help." "With what?" "My heart medication. I'm short this month. I need $200 until my Social Security comes in." She laughed. Not a nervous laugh. Not confusion. A real laugh. Sharp and small, like I had told her something ridiculous. "Are you serious right now?" "Yes. Dad, I saw your picture yesterday. You were at that diner on Maple Street. You had pie and coffee. It was $4. $4 adds up," she snapped. "That's your problem. You make all these little purchases, then act shocked when you're broke. I'm asking my daughter to help me buy medicine I need to stay alive. And I'm telling you, I can't keep rescuing you from bad choices. I have a mortgage, a car payment, and Emma's tuition. Maybe sell the house, downsize, do something responsible for once." Then she said she had clients waiting, and she hung up while I was still breathing. I had one call left. Ethan was Daniel's son, 21 years old, studying civil engineering at the University of Pittsburgh and working nights at a campus library for $12 an hour. He lived in a third-floor apartment with bad heat, 2 roommates, and a car so old the passenger window had to be pulled up by hand. 3 weeks earlier, he had come by for dinner. We ate chili at the kitchen table, and he told me his Corolla was making a sound like a coffee can full of bolts. "What are you going to do?" I asked. He shrugged. "Drive it until it quits, I guess." That was the kid I was about to ask for money. My thumb hovered over his name, longer than it had over Daniel's or Caroline's. It felt crueler somehow. Daniel and Caroline could afford to help. Ethan couldn't. But the test wasn't about money. It was about cost. He answered on the first ring. "Grandpa, hey, everything okay?" Just hearing someone sound happy to hear from me nearly broke my voice. "I'm all right," I lied. "I'm just in a tight spot." "What happened?" "My heart medication runs out tomorrow. I don't get my check until next week. I need about $200. But, Ethan, listen to me. If you don't have it, I understand. How much exactly?" "No, I'm serious. I know your car is Grandpa," he cut in. "How much?" $200. I've got $512 in checking. I'll send $500 right now." "Is that enough?" I gripped the arm of my chair. "Ethan, I can't take that." "Yes, you can. You bought my textbooks when Dad said I needed to learn independence. You drove me to class for a month when my car died. You've never asked me for anything." I heard tapping through the phone. "There," he said. "Sent. Do you need me to come over?" My eyes burned. "No. Kid, you've done enough. You're my grandpa," he said. "I love you." For the first time since Eleanor died, I put my face in my hands and cried. That Saturday morning, I called a Toyota dealership in Monroeville and asked for the sales manager. I need to buy a car, I said. What kind are you looking for? A new Corolla hybrid, safe package, winter tires, full warranty. Something that won't leave a college kid stranded on the side of the highway. He started talking about financing. No financing, I said. Cash, title, in my grandson's name. Insurance paid for the first year. By noon, everything was arranged. I told Ethan to come by because I needed help moving something in the garage. He showed up in that dying Corolla, the engine coughing like it had a personal grudge against him. The new car was sitting in my driveway under a gray cover. What's that? He asked. Pull it off. He did. For a few seconds. He didn't move. He just stared at the car. Then, at me. Then, back at the car. Grandpa, he whispered. Whose is this, yours? His face changed like his body didn't know whether to smile or cry first. I can't accept this. Yes. You can. You gave me everything you had when you thought I had nothing. He hugged me so hard my ribs hurt. That was the first money I spent that felt clean. By Sunday afternoon, the new car had done exactly what I expected it to do. It brought the vultures back. Daniel called first, except the call didn't come through because he had blocked me and apparently forgotten that part. So, he used his wife's phone. Dad, he said, his voice already tight. Caroline and I are coming over. Not asking, telling. They arrived at 2:17 p.m. Daniel in his black Lexus. Caroline in a white Mercedes SUV with dealer plates still on it. He wore a pressed golf shirt and a watch that cost more than my first truck. She came up my walkway with a designer purse tucked under one arm and the expression of a woman arriving to inspect damage. Ethan was in the driveway, washing his new Corolla with a bucket and a grin he couldn't hide. Caroline stopped dead. Whose car is that? Ethan looked over his shoulder. Mine. Grandpa bought it for me. Daniel's face went red so fast I thought his blood pressure might beat mine to the grave. Kitchen, he snapped at me. I almost laughed at that. My son. Standing on the porch of the house I had paid for with 39 years of labor, ordering me into my own kitchen, but I let them come in. Daniel didn't sit, Caroline did, setting that expensive purse on my old table like it was afraid to touch the wood. Where did you get money for a car? Daniel demanded. I had some savings. Last week you were asking us for medication money, Caroline said. Now you're buying cars. I decided not to buy the medication. Her face changed. What I figured a car for the only person who cared whether I lived or died was a better investment. That's not funny, Daniel said. I wasn't trying to be. He looked at me like I had become a problem he needed to solve. Dad, if you're having some kind of episode, we need to discuss getting you help. That word again, help. They never meant help for me. They meant control over me. So I stood, walked to the hallway closet, and brought back the folder Martin had prepared. Good, I said, placing it on the table. Let's discuss help. I slid the folder across the table. Daniel opened it with the irritated confidence of a man who still thought this was going to end with me apologizing. It didn't. Inside were bank statements, canceled checks, wire confirmations, loan records, and notes Martin had organized by date. Every page had a yellow tab. Every amount was highlighted. March 2022, I said. Daniel, you needed $22,000 because your firm had a payroll problem. His jaw tightened. June 2022, another $38,000 to cover credit cards your wife supposedly couldn't find out about. Dad, don't. I turned to Caroline. September 2022. $17,500 because your mortgage was behind. You cried on this phone for 40 minutes and said I was the only person you could count on. Her eyes dropped to the table. Then $4,200 for the SUV repair, $9,000 for Emma's tuition, $6,300 for property taxes, then smaller transfers, $2,000 here, $1,500 there, groceries, insurance, late fees. I laid the pages out one by one until the table looked like a courtroom exhibit. Do either of you know the total? Neither answered. $147,000 in 3 years. The kitchen went silent. Not the peaceful kind of silent, the kind where people realize the room has turned against them. And when I asked for $200 for heart medication, I said, Daniel blocked me. Caroline laughed at me. Ethan appeared in the doorway. He must have heard everything from the driveway. You took that much from Grandpa? He asked quietly. Daniel turned on him. This is adult business. No, Ethan said. This is family business. Caroline wiped at her face. You don't understand. I understand enough, Ethan said. He asked me for help, and I gave him what I had. What did you give him? I looked at my children. A lecture, I said. And a blocked number. I reached into the folder and pulled out a white envelope. Daniel's eyes followed it immediately. Not my face, not my hands shaking slightly. The envelope. That told me something. 2. Ethan, I said, holding it out. Open this. He looked confused, but he took it. Inside was a photocopy of the winning ticket, the claim documents, and the trust confirmation Martin had prepared. The real ticket was already locked away. Long processed and useless to anyone but me. Ethan read the first page, then the second. His face went pale. Grandpa, he whispered. This says, say it, he swallowed. You won the lottery. Caroline's head snapped up. Daniel stepped toward him. Let me see that. Ethan pulled the papers closer to his chest. How much? Caroline asked. Her voice suddenly thin. $333 million, I said. A little over $197 million after taxes. Daniel lunged for the envelope. I didn't move. I didn't have to. Already claimed, I said. Through an irrevocable trust, protected by Martin Keller and a financial team neither of you can bully. Charm. Or guilt. Daniel froze. If you had helped me, I said, you would have had everything. Then I looked at Ethan. But only one person in this room passed. Caroline started crying first. Not soft crying, not grief. Panic. Dad. Please, she said. You can't just cut us out like this. Daniel found his voice again. We made a mistake. Fine. But this is insane. You're punishing your own children over one phone call. One phone call, I said. I tapped the folder. This is 3 years of phone calls. Daniel looked at the papers, then at me. And for the first time in a long time, I saw fear on his face. Good. Because I wasn't finished. I pulled up an email from Martin on my phone and turned the screen toward them. This morning, I said. Martin Keller finalized the purchase of several private debt portfolios. Daniel frowned. What does that mean? It means your boat loan, your business line of credit, and 2 of your personal credit cards now belong to a company controlled by my trust. His mouth opened. But nothing came out. I turned to Caroline. Your second mortgage, your Mercedes payment, and the judgment from that contractor you refused to pay, same thing. She stood so fast the chair scraped across the floor. You bought our debt, I bought what you couldn't afford. Daniel's voice dropped. Why would you do that? I looked at my son, the man who had told me to figure out my medication alone, while paying for a boat he didn't need, so you could learn what it feels like to owe someone who doesn't care if you survive the month. Caroline shook her head. You can't do this. We're your children. And I'm your creditor now. The room went dead still. Balances are due in 30 days, I said. After that, the contracts allow collection, liens, repossession, and foreclosure proceedings. Martin's firm will handle everything. Daniel gripped the back of a chair. You'd ruin us, no, I said. You did that when you mistook my love for weakness. Ethan looked sick, but he didn't interrupt. Caroline whispered. What do you want from us? The same thing I asked for, I said. Help when I needed it. After Daniel and Caroline left, the house felt bigger than it had before, not peaceful, just empty in a different way. Ethan stayed in the kitchen, standing beside the table covered in papers, his new car keys still in his hand. He looked at the folder, then at me. Grandpa, he said quietly, did you really need the medication? I shook my head. No. My heart is fine. The test was fake. His face changed a little. But the money I sent you, that was real, I said. Every dollar. That was your rent money, your grocery money, your emergency money. You gave it to me because you thought I needed it more than you did. He looked down. I didn't even think about it. I know, I said. That's why it mattered. I started gathering the papers, stacking them slowly because my hands needed something to do. I'm not proud that I had to test my own family, I told him. But I'm glad I know the truth now. When someone you love says they're scared and they need help, you don't audit their coffee receipts, you don't lecture them, you don't block their number. Ethan's eyes were wet. So, what happens now? I said. I stop being an ATM. And I start living like a man who finally knows who his family is. 2 days later, Daniel showed up at my front door. I saw him through the window before he knocked. No golf shirt this time. No business call posture. Just my son standing on the porch with red eyes, wrinkled sleeves, and the look of a man who had spent 48 hours realizing consequences were not theoretical. I opened the door but didn't step aside. Dad, he said, please. 5 minutes. You blocked my number, I said. Remember tough love. His face tightened. I was wrong. Yes, I'm sorry. I believe you're sorry this is happening. He looked past me into the house, like maybe he could still find the father who would invite him in. Make coffee, write a check, and pretend nothing hurt. Heather left, he said. She found out about the debt, the boat, the credit cards, all of it. She took the kids to her mother's. I felt something move in my chest. Not satisfaction, not pity either. Just the tired sadness of watching a grown man meet the truth late. I'm sorry to hear that. That's it, he snapped. I'm your son, and I'm your father. The same father you couldn't help with $200. I made a mistake. No, I said. You made a choice. He stared at me like he didn't recognize me. Good. The man you knew was a doormat, I said. This man has self-respect. Then I closed the door. 3 months later, I was sitting across from Ethan at a restaurant in Maui, where the ocean looked too blue to be real, and the menu didn't bother listing prices. He kept staring at everything. The white tablecloth, the waiter folding his napkin, the steak in front of him that probably cost more than his old weekly grocery budget. This is insane, Grandpa, he said. I feel like I'm going to get arrested for being here. I laughed, for the first time in what felt like years. Get used to it. He shook his head. I don't need all this. I know, I said. That's why I can give it to you. He looked up. I set my fork down. When I die, the trust goes to you. Your school is covered. Graduate school too, if you want it. First house, first business. Whatever future you build, you won't start it drowning. His face tightened. I don't want to think about you dying. Neither do I. That's why we're talking about living. He looked out at the water for a long time. Do you miss them? He asked. I knew who he meant. Daniel. Caroline. I took a breath. I miss who I thought they were, I said. I don't miss who they turned out to be. For once. Saying it didn't break me. It freed me. 6 months after the test, Caroline came to my house. I almost didn't recognize her through the peephole. No Mercedes. No designer purse. No perfect hair. She stood on my porch in a faded coat. Dark circles under her eyes. Holding herself like the cold had gotten inside her bones. I opened the door but kept one hand on the frame. Dad, she said. Her voice cracked on the word. Please don't close the door. I said nothing. I lost the house, she whispered. The business collapsed. Mark left. Emma's staying with him most of the time now. I'm working at a Target in Greensburg, overnight stocking. There was a time those words would have split me open. Now they just landed. I need help, she said. Miller's Diner is hiring dishwashers, I told her. The grocery store needs night stalkers too. I worked jobs like that for decades to raise you. Her face twisted. You can't be serious. I've never been more serious. I'm your daughter. And I'm your father. The one you laughed at when he said he needed heart medication. I didn't know you were rich. Exactly, I said. You didn't know, so you showed me who you were. She started sobbing. What can I do to fix this? Nothing, I said. You can't unfail a test. Then, I closed the door. 1 year after I bought that lottery ticket, Martin Keller called me on a rainy Thursday morning. Walter, he said. I thought you'd want the update. I was in my kitchen, drinking coffee from the mug Eleanor gave me on our 30th anniversary. Daniel filed Chapter 7, Martin said. The boat is gone, the house is being sold, his wife's attorney is being aggressive. I looked out the window at the maple tree in my yard. All right. You don't want details, no. He paused. Caroline's custody arrangement changed too. Mark has primary custody. She has supervised weekends until the court reviews her situation again. That one hurt for Emma's sake, not Caroline's. And Ethan, I asked. Martin's voice warmed. Dean's List again. Internship offer from a structural engineering firm in Pittsburgh. Paid, too. I smiled. Good. After we hung up, I sat there for a while, listening to rain hit the glass. People think money creates monsters. It doesn't. Money just turns the lights on. I gave Daniel and Caroline years of chances, thousands of dollars, every excuse a father could make. Ethan gave me $500 when he believed I had nothing, so, no. I don't feel guilty. I did right by all of them. Only one of them appreciated it. If this story hit close to home, leave a comment, and if you want more stories about family, betrayal, and the kind of truth money can't hide, consider subscribing.